Thanks so much for having me. Huge fan of 52 Limited. Refer people to you all the time because I think that what you do is really do a great job of matching. So I've been doing this work for a while. I'm going to share with you a tool that I use all the time with my clients, like all the time. I do formal assessments. So, I do psychometric assessments to help clients understand, motivations and interests and personality, and maybe, helping them formulate a career vision and maybe generate some new options for themselves, generally with people that have career experience. So I want to share with this tool with you because I use this in conjunction with some of those other more formal tools, because I find that this just really provides a really interesting depth to looking at where have you been and then maybe where you're headed. So this is the tool that I use. It's called a career timeline. This is from my own client records. This is what I share with my clients in terms of the exercise that I give them, but I give them some very specific instructions. So you'll just see that there's like a graph at the top. It just kind of to show them kind of what it's going to probably look like. I have clients that make this super formal and they do like a whole PowerPoint presentation. And then I have other clients that do it. And I'm going to show you one that's just, handwritten and share with you a little bit about what that person took away from it. So a couple of different uses for this is you can use this if you're trying to figure out how do I want to introduce myself during the tell me about yourself question during an interview, or if you're wanting to do some networking and you're trying to figure out, who would be some good natural connections. Doing this exercise ahead of time will give you some insight about that, because you're going to notice some natural connection points in your own career timeline that will help you then go and seek out some people that might be able to give you some additional insight or might have parallels to your background, etc. You can also use it if you're having to write a bio. So I know some people they might be asked to serve on a panel, or they might have to write a bio for a new job, and this can help you with that. And I think I said earlier too, just with some important decisions, maybe some pivots. Elaine and I were talking about how, sometimes you might feel like you're stuck in a job. And I think that certainly pandemic wise, we're feeling that way. Maybe I actually have clients right now that are hoping that they get laid off because they really dislike their job so much that they're hoping that, that becomes kind of the jumping off point for them to be able to look at something else. But I think that this tool, this career timeline, is essential if you're kind of looking at and trying to figure out some important decisions in your life. So here's what you do. You just take a piece of paper, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to make a horizontal line on that piece of paper, and you're going to start to chart your ups and downs of your career. So first job out of college, sometimes it's a real high, sometimes it's a real low. You just took a job, and you might say, I took this job because I graduated in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, and I just took whatever I could get. So that might be a low point for you. Other people, it might be a high point because you really did spend a lot of time trying to land that dream job. So you're going to chart the highs and lows of your career. And you can be as specific or as general as you want. Now I'm going to show you an actual example of someone that did this. And Elaine, can you see Danny's timeline on your screen?
I can.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is Danny's timeline. This was a client that was really feeling dissatisfied in her career. She kept on running into these hurdles of taking a job and it being great for a while, and then just when she was feeling discouraged, she was getting either a promotion or she was changing jobs. So let me kind of walk you through, some of the highlights here. So got a job out of college. She was a graphic designer. She wanted this job. It had been a place that she had actually pursued as an internship. Couldn't get it as an internship, but she got hired right after graduation. So Then she got promoted to senior designer. She had a really great skill set, but what she also was really good at was managing other people. She tried to pivot because she wanted to leave the industry that she was in and go into something else, but that was a failure. She just couldn't make it happen. Well, a new job came along. She took that job. It wasn't a new industry. And she took the job as a senior designer, which she had been promoted to in the last job. Then she was selected for an emerging leader program. That was really one of the highlights of her career. It's probably one of the highest points because she loved the learning that took place there. So then you'll see some dips there. You know, she tried to pivot again. The company was sold. That was a real low point because there was a lot of uncertainty. Lots of learning took place. She joined a good team. It kind of plateaued. Then she took on this really interesting project that the company had never done before. And they had a very quick turnaround on this project. She was doing more kind of production work at this time, and then got promoted to a junior production manager. That crashed for her because her boss left. Horrible experience. Boss left. This boss had been a real mentor to her, had really guided her, and she really felt like she was flailing. But then she took on some new projects. They were great new projects, again, learning a lot, got exposure to some really niche industries that she really enjoyed because it was partly like new projects, but also lots of new learning about these industries. As she got more successful in her job, she had also joined a bigger company. The team that she was now managing was too big. That was a problem for her. She felt like she was spending more time doing the HR kind of team management piece than she was actually being able to work directly with clients. Then they assigned her a development. They wanted her to develop a training program. Again, another high point for her. Loved it, did really well. And at that same time, she was also assigned to work on a new system implementation. So I didn't cover all of these themes in depth here. I'm going to show you what this means for her is when Danny started reflecting on where she wanted to go, she realized that she had actually made a good career choice. She liked being in that creative world, and she loved straddling the very practical side of production management too, and operations. So she really discovered that where she was at her best was when she was creating new systems, either internal processes, in customer delivery systems, or even internal systems like the training program or the implementation of an actual technology system. She loved that. It's the way she thinks. She's a very linear thinker as well as having this real creative aspect. She discovered that every time a role started to go wrong for her, it was because she had hit a plateau with her learning. She also realized that she was seduced by promotions, and that sometimes those promotions weren't always in her best interest because they didn't allow her to do more of the work that she actually liked. She also discovered that smaller companies would probably be a better fit for her because as companies got too big, she got too pigeonholed in a particular role. So these are all great insights for her. How Danny also used this information is when she was career pivot, career highlights are very important in terms of career turning points. So career turning points are those areas or those points where you make a key decision that kind of shifts the direction of your career. And Danny used that really effectively as she was networking with people to talk to them about, I made this decision, and it was particularly for her, it was around the production management, which kind of was like a low point for her, but it was a key decision because she discovered that in that role with the right production, or operations, creative operations role, she could do the really systems-oriented work as well as the creative work. Okay, so Questions, Elaine? Anything?
I started working on my.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Good. Well, you know, I mean, you and I had talked, and we talked about toxic environments, right? Like this could identify a toxic environment. She really didn't feel like she was in a toxic environment until that company sold, which was that real low point for her. She felt like the environment got a little bit toxic then, but that can be a key point for you too. Can help you discern what's the best culture for you to be in. Trust me when I say this, not everybody thinks a culture is toxic. Some people don't.
Yes, you're right.
It's a very personal, individual assessment that you do. Yes.
Absolutely. And it can be departmental. It can be within smaller teams.
Exactly.
You know, there could be just one person that's a bully, you know, and has some type of executive or leadership power and has determined that, you know, you're their scapegoat.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
What I really love about this exercise, as I started to delve into it myself, is that you really start to think about why that was a high or a low point. Right. And so I feel like my little timeline is going to have to be on a larger piece of paper because I only got to when I moved to Portland.
Right.
So because it's like, you know, if this is going to be a 1, then what makes it a 3? Right. And what are all of those things? So I almost feel like I need like little Post-it notes to kind of help me assess what made me determine something to be a 1, 2, or a 3, or a high or a low.
Yeah, and then, you know, you could do another layer on top of it. So here's another, and this is why it's a simple yet, like really, really, really could be an in-depth, could be like an entire in-depth like project for yourself. And because you can put another layer on top. So another layer on top would be to look at individual projects. So like on Danny's here, so she was at one company for like 4 years. That's the largest section in the middle. But she could break that down into individual projects. What projects did she really like? Which ones didn't? Why? And really look at it like that specifically. So definitely want to look at projects, initiatives. And here are some other questions that you can ask yourself too. Let me share this. Can you see this?
I see.
Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah, sorry, here you go. All right. Okay, here are questions that you can ask yourself. You know, you want to notice overarching trends. Does the position fit in with development plans that you have? You know, did you take risks or did you play it safe? Sometimes I talk to people that are really miserable because they've noticed that there was a time that they should have made a riskier decision. And it actually, they say, oh, I don't have any confidence. But what it does is it feeds that confidence to then make that riskier decision that they're faced at that time because they realize that they didn't do it earlier and they're paying the price for it. Greatest strengths, you know, what do people continuously give you feedback on? Danny was a really good manager. She loved it. And it also at times was very dissatisfying for her because it became too much of her job. Limitations, you know, we think about impact often, but I want to share that I think influence is even more of a question to ask yourself because influence is really important for some of us in terms of our career satisfaction. We want to feel like we've got some influence. And then just, you know, obstacles, challenges, and then to ask yourself just the general question, you know, what is my timeline trying to tell me?
Yes, and what I also think about as far as the questions are concerned is that it's sometimes it's contextual, right? Where are you in your life?
Yeah.
Your needs, right? It's different, you know, how you feel out of college than it might be right before you start a family or when you have a family.
Right. Or you've got other things going on, you know, you go back to school and it's okay to be in a job that maybe isn't a top 3 because, you know, it allows you the space to be able to think about other things. Now, you know, the question comes up sometimes like, how would I do this if I've just graduated from college, right? I don't have a lot of work experience. Well, what you do is you would take whatever meaningful, you know, section there is. So for some people it would start back in high school where maybe they started taking classes that they got really interested, or they had an interesting kind of maybe work study program in high school that then how did they make their college choice and how did they pick their major? What did they do? What activities were they involved in school? What helped shape them? What gave them kind of their unique point of view? And then they can use this to kind of think about, does that point to certain directions or certain areas that they might want to pursue?
Yeah, I love that. You know, you could take classes and chart them. You can take activities. You know, you could almost go as far as to take all of your teachers or your previous supervisors or managers and start to think, okay, where do you feel like you achieved the most? What were some of the skills and leadership capabilities that they pursued or they personified that help you blossom into a more enriching and engaged employee?
Yeah, and you can think about it too, like, why did you choose to work at a summer camp for 3 summers in a row? You know, there's some important information there. It was more than just that it was it was an easy choice. You went back every year because maybe the sense of camaraderie or the sense of they were an interesting group of people. What did you learn there, and how did it help you grow too as an individual? So, you know, professional development, personal development, you know, laying them on top of, and also you could also do another overlay, which should just be like a life chart, right? Like the highs and lows of your life. And then notice how do they correspond to any of those career highs and lows too. So.
Well, it sounds like some tracing paper is what I'm going to need to purchase from Amazon so I can overlay all of these things and start to really chart it out.
Right. Or what I do is the colored pens, right? So, you know, yeah.
What is the best way, if there are additional questions or if they're looking for a career coach, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, so I'm happy to, you know, people can go to my website and book an appointment with me. And in terms of like, you know, I'm happy to spend 10 minutes. My website, Stacey, Stacey, Lane, LANE.net. And I'm happy to spend, you know, 10 minutes brainstorming with you on the phone to help you, give you some additional resources, whatever. I'm happy to do that. And I've got also resources on my website that you know, go check them out. And if they're helpful, check me out on LinkedIn. I blog, I share articles and I blog there too. But yeah, I'm happy to just be a resource. I've been doing this for a while and I'm like, it never gets old to me. Never, ever gets old. So you know, and I'm sure you, Elaine, have this experience too, where we see two candidates, right, with basically, you know, they're in the same place, but when you look at their career timelines, they're completely different. And that's fascinating. Yeah, totally. It's such an individual story. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time today, Stacey, and for sharing this great activity. I'm so excited to do it myself. Thank you for everyone that attended 10 Minutes with 52 today. I hope everyone has a great day. Enjoy that sunshine. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.